whenever Bilzerian would hit me up and he'd be like, hey, we're going to throw a party on this date. I'd be like, all right, cool. Can I bring like 100 girls? He'd be like, yeah, for sure. I'd always ask him like, dude, is it cool if I bring 100? I was like, dude, if you don't want me to bring 100, just tell me to not bring 100. And I'd put like 116, 120 girls on the list. And I'd show up to his party with like 100 girls. Like those things over and over again, when you do them, they just become progressively easier.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Good Bro, Bad Bro, the #1 show in the world for male self-improvement, dating, status, lifestyle, and all of that good stuff. We're out here to help young men improve their lives, particularly when it comes to being confident and social. Yada, yada, guys. It's an awesome show. You know why you're all here. So I took the last 2 weeks off, but I'm back with a new guest every single week, and we have some amazing guests coming up. Today, we have Michael Sartain, who's a very interesting guy. He's one of the most well-recognized and connected guys in Las Vegas when it comes to nightlife, strip clubs, promotional parties. He hosts bikini contests. He hosts charity events. He's always associated with models, celebrities, and he has a very interesting story and totally different perspective when it comes to dating. He has a lot of hot takes on pickup. He thinks that pickup is very misleading and doesn't necessarily work. And he thinks that what men should really be focusing on is status. So he's going to break down all of that and so much more in this episode. Before we get started, hit that like button, drop a comment for the algorithm, and enjoy the video.
And I'm feeling good. I like a dude who fucks his life up and then gets it back together. Let's go, Jack.
Mike, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. I'm excited. To, I've been watching your content and I'm excited to be on your show.
So we went deep when we did a podcast a couple weeks ago. Hopefully, if you guys haven't watched it yet, go check it out in the link in the description below. For everybody that's never heard of you before and they're not familiar, give everybody a quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
Bro, this is like the hardest thing because whenever people have me on their podcast, because it's so hard to explain. I'm a former U.S. military officer. I flew KC-135 as an instructor navigator in the Air Force in Iraq and Afghanistan. Got out of the military. Before I was in the military, I used to manage a strip club. It was really weird, just a weird confluence of events where I was in a strip club when 9/11 happened. End up joining the military. I get out of the military. I end up moving to Los Angeles to become an actor for a couple years. And while I'm there, I start going to Las Vegas on a regular basis. And then just like, that's when it just hit me that this is where I want to live for the rest of my life. And when I was there, just these things started happening. So two different paths. Number one, I started becoming a financial trader. I'm a featured trader at this website called tastyworks.com. And I started working at a hedge fund. And then at the same time, I started hosting like these bikini pageants, which led to me hosting the Maxim the red carpet for all the Maxim parties in Los Angeles. And then I started hosting a huge bikini competition at Wet Republic, which made me friends with Crystal Hefner, who started inviting me to the Playboy Mansion, which introduced me to a bunch of playmates. And then I started becoming the host for Swimsuit USA and the host for Miss Brazil USA. And then I was the host for Babes in Toyland, Smash Global, the Model Citizen Fund, and like 12 other different events. And it just became this thing where like every charity event in Los Angeles, I was the host for it. And I did that for a couple years. And the whole while I was back in like 2008, this is the crazy part, dude. Back in 2008, I was like an approach coach for Mystery and the Venusian Arts, like back then. God, man. And I talked to Mystery yesterday, actually. He's in Toronto. And then for 12, 13 years, I was just like giving these speeches. They weren't about pickup, by the way, just about everything for free for like 12, 13 years. And then when the pandemic hit, it was such a economic uncertain time that I realized I can't just live off just being, working at this hedge fund. I'm a quantitative analyst for a hedge fund. So my buddy had been telling me for years, is like, you need to start your own program, your own coaching program, because if you do, you're going to find that these guys invest way more. And that was one of the main things I found, is that like I would coach guys casually for years for free. Some of them would even come live with me. And then once I started my own program, these guys would like do fucking anything to change their life. And it was just like so much more rewarding. So I started the Men of Action mentoring program. That would have been in December of 2019. And then we didn't, there was the first iteration of it, but the second iteration of it, which is the team that I have now, where I've gone independent, like I have my own program. That's only been for a little bit over a year. Like I said before, I'd had people for 10 years asking me to like start a program on networking. Here's the funny thing, right? If you ever listen to Adam Lyons, or if you ever listen to Owen Cook, like Tyler, if you ever listen to some of his speeches, he would bring me up all the time. So I would go out and people would bring me like, oh, you're the Michael that like Tyler talks about, or you're the Michael. And sometimes Mystery would bring me up too. because a lot of the social circle stuff that guys would teach in that community, a lot of it, like a great deal of it came from people watching me. And so, but I didn't have a program. And so once I started the program, then, from there, it just kind of took off. And I mean, the first couple of months we started the program, we couldn't believe how many clients we had, because it had just been so long and people had been asking me for so long to just start a program like this. But for people from the self-help community, it would be just like a leadership program and a social networking program. From people from the pickup or seduction community, this is a social circle program. That's how you would look at it. Gotcha. But like you said before, I heard you in the intro talking about the most important thing is for getting girls is status. No, the most important thing is status, period. It's not just for getting girls. It's for getting a job, for anything. And I don't look at status from like a vapid sort of egotistical way. I look at it strictly from an evolutionary psychology way, like Dr. David Buss or Gad Saad or Steven Pinker look at status. That's the way we look at it. So what I teach is based heavily in evolutionary psychology. When I talk to Dr. David Buss, I say, Dr. Buss, you're the theoretical physicist. I'm the experimental physicist. The stuff that he talks about, like the mate copying strategy that Dr. Buss talks about in his book, I'm actually doing the mate copying strategy, except we call it something different. Pre-selection, the psychological term for pre-selection is called the mate copying strategy in evolutionary theory. Right. So those kind of things, I kind of want to be the bridge between what Cindy Meston and Dr. Buss and Leah Cosmides and some of these evolutionary psychologists, from what they talk about to actually bringing it into practice. I kind of try to make that bridge. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, man. One of the things that you jumped into too was like your progression from all these different jobs and statuses you had. I think what's really important for most of the people that watch podcasts like this is they watch these because they want to be inspired and they want to learn from experts, obviously, but most experts don't necessarily talk about the actual, I guess, timelines where they became successful, right? So, for example, you're a very well-read guy. You obviously know about Robert Greene, the 48 Laws of Power. He didn't publish that till I believe about 41 or 42, which is around your age, right? And before that, he was writing small newspaper articles about sports and whatnot. And then somebody told him, like, dude, this shit is fire, but like, nobody gives a fuck in a newspaper. You have to write a book about this. And then he kind of became like an overnight success. And whenever you think of business books, leadership books, you go, shit, Robert Greene, Laws of Power, Strategies of War, Laws of Human Nature. This guy's a genius, right? But what they don't remember is the 20 years of shit he did before he achieved that. So real quick, can you go over all those jobs you just laid out and then just kind of go through your 20s as you were an actor and then you made the leap to various jobs, but have like a year next to it, so that way people can kind of measure your progression.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 44. I'm turning 45 here in about 60 days. By the way, you're welcome to come to my birthday. It's going to be October 6th at IU in Resorts World. So what happened, let's say I graduated from high school in 96. I go to UT Austin from 96 to 2000. The year 2000, MCI WorldCom crashes, and so does Enron. I don't know if you remember this. It's like
this is like the dot-com bubble, right?
Yeah, this is a little bit after the dot-com bubble.
Gotcha.
Think of more like an energy bubble, because at UT Austin, it wasn't a dot-com place. Well, we're not up in Northern California. Sorry, this is one of my rescue cats here. It's more of like the energy markets crashed, right, during that time. And then so when Enron goes out of business, I'm an MIT major at UT Austin with a minor in astronomy. So it had I had no use for my skill set, my degree whatsoever. And I was working as the head door guy. I'd studied martial arts most of my life, and I was working at the head door guy, a bouncer at this nightclub on 6th Street in Austin. And while I was there, there was one of the bartenders, and she was getting her PhD. She was paying for it by stripping at this club called Expose. She comes to me and she goes, "Hey, this strip club I work at, they need a DJ to be at the strip club." Well, I've been a DJ also at this particular nightclub, so I went and go to give it a shot. I have to tell you, I went in there, Jack, absolutely no confidence whatsoever they were going to hire me. None. I was terrified. When I went on there, it's just one of these weird things. I know this is going to be a weird analogy, but I can imagine like the first time a guy like films a porno scene with all these people staring at him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, fuck all the time." And then it's like, but there's all these people staring at him,
right? Yeah,
and it's like weird, and it's like it's one of these things where it's like you just can't. There's so much pressure that's just put on you initially, and then once you get used to it, dude, it became the easiest job ever. Within the hour, they hired me. This is 2000 to 2004. Okay. In these years, you have to think about it. So we don't have text messaging yet. We don't have HD TV yet, right? We don't even have MySpace yet. At this point, I'm still in this kind of archaic time. But what I do have is that I would go back in the locker room every day and I would see at this point in my life, probably not today, but at this point in my life, the most beautiful women I'd ever seen in my life. And they are consistently complaining about men who treat them like shit. This was a very, very big eye-opening thing for me, that for a lot of men, it takes them to their first divorce to get to this point, or it takes them into their mid-30s, or it takes them several heartbreaks. It did not take me very long because I was working at a strip club. Does that make sense?
Yeah, wait, so what are you getting at? Like, you saw that women were upset because they're being treated poorly, and then
no, it's not that they were being treated poorly. They kept going back to the guys who kept treating them.
That's what I mean. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was like, where are you going with this? You're going the wrong way.
Right. So what I'm seeing is Disney, my church, and my mom have told me one reality about how the world is supposed to exist. Yeah. And now here I am working in this gentleman's club and seeing these fantastic. Now, again, is this indicative of all women? Of course it's not. But in this case, this is I'm getting exposed to so much of it so quickly. And I just watching. And then this was also my first exposure to women being physically abused and like how fucking sad and terrible that whole situation was. And then seeing her go back to the guy and just like, at first being so confused, but after seeing it for year after year after year, just being like, okay, now I understand the world is not the way that Disney and my church and my mom told me it was. It is more, there is a different reason why these women are attracted to these men. And it's not because I was nice to them.
Right.
Okay. So that's the first lesson you have to go. Be a gentleman, be nice, and be yourself. Mm-hmm. No, be a gentleman, be nice, and be yourself is a quick way for women to tell who the betas are. That's why women tell
you were a nice guy up until this point.
Of course, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was very much a nice guy.
Okay, so how old were you when you learned this, and then you switched over to the military?
23 to 26. Nothing you can imagine could speed up your education in this place other than being surrounded by 50, 60 women 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. Nothing, like, it's just, and the other thing is I was so comfortable being around women. The reason why I can have so many female friends who are so fucking beautiful is because of this period of time. And also the reason why I can do podcasts for 3 hours very easily is because I had to talk on a microphone for 8 hours a day and be funny at the DJ as a DJ at a strip club. I'm not saying it was all the greatest life lessons, but there were some definite skill sets that I got from that period of time. And I kept it a secret for a long time. I didn't tell people that I did this for a long time. The last year and a half, I was a manager. I had a business degree, so they made me a manager, and I would still DJ every once in a while. But I watched 9/11 happen in the strip club, and I had a degree, and I knew I could go in as an officer, so I went to a recruiter, and I said, hey, I want to join the military, because it was one of these situations where you're sitting there working for a strip club, and it's not a meritocracy. Like, if you ever go to a strip club and you meet the Friday night DJ, he's just the one that's been there the longest. He just waited for everyone to die. And then he got the job. I knew guys who've been there for 25 years. I'm like, I'm not going to be a DJ at a strip club for 25 years. That's not.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
I have a minor in astrophysics. I am not going to be a DJ in a strip club forever. So I leave and I join the military. 7 years in the military. And when I joined, I knew immediately when I joined, I wasn't going to do 20 years. But I really enjoyed the flying. I enjoyed the mathematics. I love the math of being a navigator. For those of you who don't know, if you ever watch Top Gun, it's like Goose is the navigator for Maverick, who's the pilot. I did that for 7 years. I have about 450 combat hours over Iraq and Afghanistan. And while I was in the military, every weekend, I would either go to Atlanta or go to Dallas. When I was stationed in Georgia, I would go to Atlanta. When I was stationed in Wichita, I would drive to Dallas. It was like 6 hours. So two things happened. Number one, cranked out the audiobooks, bro. Audiobooks at double speed on these long ass drives every weekend is when I really started getting into the book lists. And
so you got out of the military about like 32, I guess?
I got out when I was 33 years old. I actually, I got out. I was medically retired for an autoimmune disorder that I had a couple of months before I would have gotten out anyway. So I got retirement from that. I got medically retired from the military. So I still have, the reason why that's important is I still have my military ID. I can still go on to any base I want. And I still have all the benefits of being in the military, and they still pay for a bunch of my medical stuff. But I get out, and from February of 2011 until August of 2011, so I'm 33 years old, I'm just living on my mom's couch in Dallas. I've been working my ass off for 7 years, man. You know what I'm saying? I have all these deployments. I had all these combat missions. I'd been a captain. I was working at the wing as a counterintelligence officer, work. And then I got out and I was just like, dude, I want to do nothing. So for several months, I just did nothing. But from a status standpoint, the low point was moving to Las Vegas, because when I moved there, nobody knew who I was, right? And we didn't have social media. I just started on Facebook, that would have been 2010. So I got in 2011. We didn't really understand what was going on. And then 2012, when we got on Instagram, me and there were some promoters here in Las Vegas. We all got on it. We jumped on it, started posting every day. And then it was funny because I was living in Bilzerian's. So Dan and I weren't friends back then. He and I lived in the same building, or we lived in the next building to one another. Dan was just starting. He was not that famous. He didn't even have an Instagram when I first moved here. He was just a poker player, and he lived in a building across from me. It was the building I actually live in right now. There's so many things that happened. I moved to Vegas, and I went out 63 nights in a row because I wanted to figure the city out. I wanted to completely this is what I recommend for other people to do. I wanted to completely and totally figure out every nook and cranny of Las Vegas when I moved here. I wanted to understand it like better than any tourist could, like the locals could, because one of the unique things about Las Vegas is that when you live here, you get treated like a king. Any experience you've had coming here as a tourist does not compare to living here. Living here, like, I don't have to pay for shit. Like, it's incredible. I get on stage at pretty much any nightclub anytime I want. Like, it's one of these things where you have so much unfucking believable logistical access from living here that it really makes it difficult as a single man for me to want to live anywhere else.
So I'm seeing a trend here, though. Like, you have like this almost blunt force approach to learning things, right?
Yes.
You just cram everything into your head via audiobooks. You will just dive yourself into something. And you have no problem, I guess, starting at the absolute bottom as far as like, relocating and then just kind of going out 63 nights in a row. I like what you said earlier about how when you threw yourself into working at a strip club, which was probably unintentional, right?
Yeah.
You learned the lessons over the course of 4 years that most people don't figure out till they're in their like mid 30s, late 30s, 40s. So I guess you kind of swallowed the pill, so to speak, at about, I don't know, like 26 or so. Then you went to the military for your tours there for 7 years. And then you came back and you relocated, and you didn't really have you didn't have online status. You didn't have recognition as far as your military stuff goes. So you just had to blunt force it for 2 months. So were you working? Did you get a job as like a bar back, a bartender? Like, how was that?
No, this is another thing that happened. So I had saved up a bunch of money and I had my retirement. When I first got out, I started stock option trading in 2013. And I did it as a hobby, and I started making so much money from doing that. That is all I did from 2013 until 2020. For 7 years, I made a living off just doing that. And then 2017, I showed my returns to a hedge fund, and then they hired me to be a quantitative analyst. So that's what I was doing for work. So it was really, it's fortunate, but I didn't need to work anywhere else. And I was just very comfortable doing that for a long time until the Corona crash happened, where it was like, and if you know anything about selling stock options, you're basically selling insurance. And once the Corona crash happened, and then later on the invasion of Ukraine, and then the spike in oil prices and all that kind of stuff, we aren't getting paid enough. Like the options that I'm selling are not worth the value of the risk that I'm having to take. So currently I've not shut down, but I told my boss at the hedge fund, we're not trading again until the market completely settles back and the VIX gets below 20. For those of you or your followers or your viewers that are into finance, you know what the VIX is. But so right now we're not doing that. But that's what I did for a living. And then additionally to that, there was this one promotional group that didn't hire me. I worked for free just because I had so much free time. And it was just like, host this. And then he was like, can you get all these girls to show up to X, Y, and Z? And I just came up with these creative ways of like messaging girls in order to come to different events. At first it was text messaging, which is not effective. I don't recommend it. Once Instagram came out, it completely changed the game, because before you would text a girl and she would see 10 numbers on her phone. And when you were talking to her, her buying temperature was through the roof. And now you're talking to her, she has a fucking hangover and she doesn't remember who you are. Once you had Instagram and you tagged her in a post, and then she saw your face on the IG DM, that changed the game. From that point on, no one ever forgot you. And that fun memory that you had when you met her, you could take that with you into the next interaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm always telling a lot of my clients to do, and this is one of the things that is a sticking point for a lot of guys, is this is a little bit different context, right? This isn't necessarily for networking or getting girls to show up to an event. But when you approach and have an interaction with a girl, you don't want to just get a phone number without having set up a plan already, right? What you want to do is kind of set up, okay, what are you into? What am I into? Here are some events or things around that we would enjoy doing. You want to get like an activity, a location, another activity. You want to stack them all together. And sometimes this could be silly, right? Like get drinks and then take off our shoes and run through a field. Or, go to an art museum, make fun of all the art, and then hit a shitty karaoke bar in Chinatown. You want to stack all these things together. And that way, when you do end up going and getting the number, now when you guys message each other, your banter and things that you're going to say back and forth before you go out is going to be based on the activities. Like, oh, karaoke night, I'm going to wear my wig, or, you know, this kind of flirtation, right? But the main point here is that now when you message them, the number isn't just a number on their phone. It's like, oh, this is the guy that wants to go make fun of the art museum and then go to the karaoke bar, instead of this is the guy that's probably going to ask me out for drinks, right? You know, it's the same shit that people make that mistake. But anyways, you know all about that, I suppose, because you had to have this, you know, creative approach to getting people to show up to events, and getting women to show up to stuff is like fucking pulling teeth out of your mouth without an anesthetic, man. It's hard.
So we have an entire pillar in MOA Advanced called invites, or it's just event planning. And I go over invites. Like, I have specific invites for every different type of event that you try to have. So for me, I actually make the analogy of just like bullets in the gun, just like loading clips and bullets into a fucking gun. That's what it's like. But this is the next event, the next event, the next event, the next event. So when I go talk to a girl, it's like, have you heard of Babes in Toyland? It's like, oh, I host Babes in Toyland. It's a charity event. We're going to do it in a couple months. Are you, do you know we're having a $130,000 bikini competition at Wet Republic? Would you like to compete? Oh, okay, cool. Also in September, we're doing Paradise Challenge. It's 200 models that are doing a destination photo shoot in Jamaica. And it's the easiest way I've ever seen to get published. Oh, you're interested? Very cool. I'm also the host of Swimsuit USA, which is going to be in October, blah, blah, blah. Oh, also I'm hosting an animal rescue charity October 6th in Las Vegas, and November 26th, I'm hosting the Bunny Ball. And like, by the time of like what you said before, it's not, do you want to go to drinks? It's like, this girl is like literally realizing I'm going to gain 100,000 Instagram followers just from hanging out around this dude. Like, it just gets to the point where it's like, literally, I don't know what to do. And this guy has nothing but the most exciting events. I host all the Maxim parties. Whenever there's a Maxim party, I'm on the red carpet for that. And I worked, like, I busted my ass to get that gig. And so that's one of the things that happens. Those things over and over again, when you do them, they just become progressively easier. So that's what I teach my clients. First, step one, we have to fix your Instagram. There's no way to do this without fixing your Instagram. I'm sorry if any of you guys think you're going to get away with this without doing it. Unless you have an Academy Award, $1 billion, or you play point guard for the Lakers, you have to have social media. People are just not going to remember you if you don't. Unfortunately, it's very difficult when we're dealing with women like what I'm referring to, like extremely attractive women.
Hold on. We're getting ahead of stuff here. So there's a lot of extremities here. Like, people might not realize this, obviously, but like Michael here has kind of put himself into one of the entertainment hotspots of the world, Las Vegas, with all these, you know, swimsuit competitions, all these nightclub hosting things. Yeah. I think the analogy he's getting at is like, if you can handle all of that, then you can handle getting one or two girls to hang out with you when you go and talk. Like, so that's the analogy there, because I think a lot of people, they're going to be like, this fucking guy is just talking about how all these awesome 100, so
that's exactly my point. The saying in MOA is, if you can bench press 300 pounds, that means you can bench press 200 pounds.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it's exactly what you're saying. If you can get huge influencers to come to your event, then you can get real estate agents super easy. And then what happens is the invites become progressively easier. So as soon as I'm done here, we have tequila and cats. So I rescue cats, and I've got girls coming over to drink tequila. Then we're going to go watch a movie. And then there's a Thai massage place where we can all get like group massages together. Or we go axe throwing, or we go bowling. We're going to all go see Top Gun again, like stuff like that. Exactly like what you said before. But here's the difference. There's nothing to stop you from getting any girl you want into the Maxim party. Nothing. There's a models list. It's very easy to find. You contact the promoter. You don't have to go. This is something that my clients, I try to explain to them, and it was like mind blowing. I have some clients that live like in Secaucus, New Jersey, and the Maxim party's in New York, and they're inviting the hottest girls they know to go to the Maxim party in Los Angeles. And they're like, okay, do you want to go to the Maxim party? Okay, I can get you on the list. Well, of course, I can get them on the list, or there's several other people that can.
So what you're getting at, though, is like, for your clients, you're kind of having them. I'll give you an analogy, man. I remember when I was a kid, I went to the pool once with my old man, and we were there, and one of my friends, he was there with his dad, and my friend, he had a younger brother, and my friend's dad, the younger brother, this kid was like 2, and he just kept throwing him in the deep end of the water, and then the kid would like tread, and then he would go under the water, and then we're like, holy fuck, this is savage. But every time he went under, he'd pull him back up so that the kid didn't drown. But the idea was like, you know, there's a couple different ways to teach people, and I think that the strategy that you are employing to teach people is something that works very well for you, which is like blunt forcing. But essentially, you're taking people and then forcing them into a situation where they have to either, you know, adapt or die. So in theory, all this makes sense to you. This is all very high level shit. And I understand all this, but, you know, to somebody that doesn't necessarily have that kind of willpower, discipline. How does one learn that, right? Do you think that it was your childhood? I mean, obviously, like naturally you have a high IQ, you're a smart guy, but like what was it that, you know, you went through that made you able to kind of take action like this? And, you know, was it the military? Was it just working and suffering? Was it like some kind of heartbreak? Like what were the stepping stones that led you to like, okay, just blunt force yourself to be uncomfortable and then progressively desensitize so that way doing simpler things is like walking through a park?
If you have ever been in the military in any infantry position, they put you behind a berm and they fire live bullets at you. So you can hear what live bullets sound like. The first time you hear it, your heart rate's in like the 140s, 150s. And by the fifth or sixth time you do it, your heart rate's in the 80s. It stays there because you're used to what those live bullets, even though you know these bullets could kill you, you get used to what that sound like. So here we bring guys to Las Vegas. They're at my bikini competition. I host the largest bikini competition in the world. There's 200 girls in it. It's for $130,000. And I'm introducing my clients to like literal playmates, not kind of playmate-ish girls, like actual playmates. And they're just like, at first they're like, and by the 10th or 11th time they're doing it, they're so desensitized to it that it's extremely easy for them to do. To answer your question, how did I get there? It was strictly a function of logic and not a function of willpower. It was a function of like, remember the whole thing when I was at the strip club, right? I remember one time there was this girl I really liked. We went on one date. She thought I was a complete fucking weirdo and said, I just want to be friends with you. I was probably 21 when this happened. She was probably the hottest stripper in the entire city. And we became friends. A couple of weeks later, she shows up at my bar, the bar where I was the head door guy, with another guy. This guy is like maybe 6 inches shorter than me. And bro, he looks cocky as fuck. Jack, I've never seen a human look more sure of himself than this guy did. Right. And she has the audacity after going on a date with me to bring this fucking dude to my bar. Right. What did I do? Did I get mad, buck up to him? You brought this girl that I wanted to date with? No, dude. I needed to know everything about this motherfucker. Everything. And I did. I spent the next 4 years like just getting to know this guy and several other guys like him. This was the key. When I see the hot girl, do I feel a longing for me not having her? Or do I quickly look over at the dude she's with and figure out what the fuck is he doing right? Because the second answer requires you to drop your ego. And that is very difficult for a lot of people to do.
Well, it's a logical decision, not an emotional decision.
Completely logical. We have a saying, another saying in MOA, I am a fucking whore to what works. I am a whore to what works. And I use that word to be strong, but I mean it like that. Like, if I do a sales technique, like before you could just post photos on your grid on IG and that would work. Now reels are taking over. Fuck photos. Let's go to reels. I'm a whore to whatever works. It's the same thing in this situation. When I was hanging out with Mystery, there was a thing that Mystery did and it worked really fucking well. I saw him do it. And then later on, Mystery and a lot of those guys, social media happened and IG happened and just went right over their head. They completely missed it. And then that's what works. And so they completely missed that whole thing. I don't have an ego as to what the thing is that works. Just like with my trading style, the same thing with the way I run my business, the way I write my sales letters, my squeeze page, my YouTube videos, my cover photos, my whoever my guests are. I am a whore to whatever works. And that is the key to success. And that's the reason why I'm able to scale up on whatever I do so quickly. And so are my clients, because there is no rigidity. We talk about binary thinking versus nuanced thinking. We are always trying to be nuanced in the way that we think. And because of that, we can get to certain places much quicker. But here's another thing, and you and I will probably agree with this. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. My conversations that I may have with you over the phone, let's just say I'm going through some shit and I want to talk to Jack about it. Those are real conversations. That's real. We're having a real conversation between two real people. Later on, when I'm posting on social media is fake. So you know what it gets from me? Fake. I give it fake. And it gives me back fake, but I don't let it affect me because I know it's fake. Does that make sense? But you know what? The money's real.
If you want to learn the proper way to talk to women and to transform your dating life, be sure to check out the Denmo Social course. Denmo Social is our best-selling video course that teaches you how to get real confidence, real results, and meet your next girlfriend. You can check that out by clicking the link in the description and completely transform your dating life. For those of you that need direct help with your specific dating issue, I also offer one-on-one coaching and consulting. The topics that I specialize in and can help you with include approach anxiety, communication, confidence, getting a girlfriend, maintaining a relationship once you have one. That's a big thing where a lot of guys mess up. They let themselves go once they do get into a relationship, as well as getting over a breakup, building a social circle, and much, much more. I still have about 50% availability for this month, so be sure to click the link in the bio below and save your spot. Book a call now. You actually brought up a really good point, though. I just thought of a question here because I think one of the biggest problems amongst young people, especially my generation, right? So you missed the social media wave till you were already a mature adult.
Yep.
Like, dude, fucking 5-year-olds have phones and tablets now.
It's
Me and my girlfriend will go to a restaurant. There'll be a family not even talking with their kid. The kid's just on a tablet crying, just eating ice cream, just swiping through everything. And I think on one end, it's really fucked up. But on the same end, those people, since they grew up without it, they're in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, they have no idea what it does to the brain. And I think that during that maturation phase, people really bind to it. So you're able to take away and see that it's fake, separate it logically, right? But that's because you were very mature and you weren't in the development stage of your brain. You weren't as vulnerable, I guess. But the reason I ask is because I know you read a lot on evolutionary psychology, and I think this would be a good segue into evolutionary psychology and how the fucking caveman was never expected to have a phone that has social media where you imagine explaining to a caveman, you're going to have an app, you're going to take your best photos, and then you're going to fake your entire life on an app to get people to fake like you so that they do like you in real life when you meet them. Like, can you go into evolutionary psychology and how fucked up that must be for somebody? Because you got to think about the average guy nowadays, low testosterone, depressed, young, habits on his phone. I mean, he thinks life is all about getting women. What's the evolutionary psychology of social media in your world? What can you talk about that?
So first thing I ask you guys to look up is a thing called Dunbar's number. Dunbar's number is basically, it's a theory that basically states somewhere between the number of 115 and 150 is the number of almost human avatars that you can keep in your brain actively at one time. If you guys think about people you went to high school with, you can't remember all their faces. If you saw them again, they would come back into the 150 active profiles, but another one would get squeezed out. If you look throughout pre-Pleistocene history, you're going to see that most tribes were about 150 tribes. Once they got to 175, 200, they would split into 2 tribes of 100, and then they would grow until those tribes got to be about 150. And if you look at most military units, they're about 150 people, because that's about the number of people that a commander can remember all the names and faces. You with me so far?
Yeah.
The difference is that Dunbar's number wasn't a function of just the tribe you were with. Those were all the people you would ever meet for the rest of your life. That was it. Just those 150. So let's talk about a couple things.
Well, yeah, Sapiens, they said the village was something like 60 to 80 people. And then I guess, people die, people are born. So that's probably how it gets to 150. Yeah.
Sapiens is not talking about pre-Pleistocene. When Sapiens is talking about with the village, they're actually talking about after the agricultural revolution. And that's a whole different thing where we make a trade-off during the agricultural revolution where we have more food, but less different varieties of food, and people are actually more disease-ridden and less happy. The beginning of the agricultural revolution is one of the most difficult times in human existence, even though there's a population explosion. That's a different discussion.
Yeah. Then the plague came, and
Right. Well, so here's the thing, though. Once we get to the agricultural revolution, evolutionarily, if you were to meet somebody from 11,000 years ago, you could still breed with them. They would still have, the same kind of attributes as far as being a human as we would. If you go back 70,000 years ago, people would look a little different. They'd be a lot shorter. That's the point I'm trying to make, is we're discussing human evolution here.
We're still the same fucking meat bags as we were 70,000 years ago.
For sure, 70,000. So the bifurcation is about 300,000 years ago. Hominids are about 3 million years ago. Homo sapiens about 300,000 years old. Yep. So now these Homo sapiens that are running around through the Serengeti, they have about 150 people in their tribe. So if you do the math, there's only about 7 or 8 females that you could possibly breed within that tribe. Okay, not your siblings, right? Because even back then they knew not wanting to have sex with your siblings is actually something that's evolutionary. It's not something that was taught to us culturally. I know there's some people that are into that, but for the most part, people are not into that. So now what happens is, now I want you to think about this. This is where approach anxiety comes from. Think about the fact that these 8 women are the only women you have any possibility of having sexual intercourse with for the rest of your life. And you know one thing, as a Homo sapien male in your 12, 13, 14, you want to have sex, because you guys remember being 12, 13, 14. And it's probably all you can think about. When you're 15, 16 years old, that's all you can think about. When men have that spike in testosterone, when you're 19 years old, your test levels might be at 900 at that point. And so now you're going through this time, and you know that if you come back and stumble and fall and embarrass yourself in front of these 8 women, you are unapologetically weeded. Your genetics are unapologetically weeded out of existence.
Yeah, bro, your impression is fucked.
Yes. So your first impression when you're a teenager, remember, this is the same point when you're in junior high now, when you're all awkward and weird. This is the point where you have to make the impression that is going to determine whether you have any sex, not a lot of sex, any sex at all. People don't realize this. The majority of Homo sapien males throughout existence died a virgin. The majority of them died a virgin.
That's a really interesting point too. Like most people forget this nowadays because, you know, obviously we have a society set up where, you know, over time, I mean, if you look into religion and why religion was created, I mean, there's this whole thing with like balancing out families, the nuclear family and all that shit. But when it comes down to it, less men are actually needed just to reproduce.
Correct.
Like a woman can only
20 men and
reproduce,
100 women.
Yeah, a woman can only reproduce every year at best, right? Because you have your your 9 months of birth and then, you know, a couple months of recovery, right? But a man, he can reproduce 3 to 4 times a day. So in a year, a man can father somewhere between, I don't know, on a conservative estimate, when you take out like people that are stillborn or, you know, if there's an early birth, whatever, a man can father, if he can get an erection enough times and he's healthy, he can father 1,000 children in 1 year. When it comes to actual humans, women are actually more valuable than men are, the majority men, but the very, very, very highest level guys are more valuable than men. And it's the same thing when it comes to IQ, right?
Yes.
The most highest IQ people of all time, men. The most wealthy people of all time, men. But more women are intelligent than men are when it comes to like a bigger population. More women are better investors than men because they go for low risk ROIs. Men throw the whole house on a fucking, you know, the casino or a crypto or some stupid shit. But it translates everywhere, right? Like it's the very top percentage guys, and then women are like the big median when it comes to intelligence. And same thing to dating. But the point we're making at, I guess, is that this is instilled into our bodies. We're playing a game with different rules now. I mean, the rules are the same. I mean, have you ever looked into The Prince by Machiavelli?
Of course, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So you know all this shit too. There's a difference between what's ought to be versus how it really is.
So realistically, like that, Dr. Buss talks about Machiavellianism as one of the dark triad traits. He's literally talking about Niccolo Machiavelli. But let me go back to what you said before. So a couple of things, right? So when you talk about men and women and the selectivity of it, it's not just men and women. Amongst all two gender species, there's this thing called the parental investment hypothesis that's in evolutionary theory. And it basically states that whichever of the two genders has the larger sex cell or the larger amount of parental investment, with Homo sapiens, it would obviously be the female because 9 months of gestation and the egg is larger than the sperm, then that gender will always be the pickier. And in mammals, it's almost always males are the less picky and the females are the more picky. The examples would be there's a certain type of fish where the males carry the children into gestation.
Like starfish
and also,
or some shit.
And seahorses as well. So this is a falsifiable hypothesis that has never been falsified. So because of that, we know, not just from Homo sapiens, but there's another one, right? So the idea is monogamy natural. Well, there's a couple of problems here. Number one, we didn't really have organized monogamy, i.e. marriage, until 11,000 years ago during the agricultural revolution. And we only used marriage as a form of like consolidating wealth. That's the first thing. Second thing, there are 5,000 species of mammals on this planet, and only 3 to 5% of them have any type of pair bonding that they do whatsoever. If you ever watch bonobos, they just fuck whatever's in front of them. So I'm going to explain like a couple of things that are big. So for instance, we just talked about approach anxiety in men. And then for women, you have to understand, so evolutionarily, all of it has to be programmed in. So the likelihood of dying of childbirth is about 2 orders of magnitude greater back during the pre-Pleistocene epoch than it is today. Because after 1930, we had antibiotics. We did not have antibiotics before that. We didn't have antibacterial soap. We didn't understand what fucking, how to, like, any kind of hygienic activity. Children were dying in droves in hospitals. It was one of the most dangerous places to give birth for the last 200 years was actually in a hospital. You should read some horrific studies about mortality in childbirth up until 1943, when we started using antibiotics to cure certain things like tuberculosis, and we started using it in childbirth. But when you go back and you look at things like that, evolutionarily, so women have this high proclivity of dying during childbirth. So of course they have to be way more selective about who they let put their dick in them. That it makes so much sense. So here's the thing, Jack. Here's the main thing. It's not just approach anxiety and women feeling anxiety about whoever they're having sex with. It's fucking everything.
Dude, it's life anxiety, man.
Yeah, but like literally there is not one single, people are going to get mad at me when I say this. There is not one single preference you have that is not based in evolution. Not one. And if you think I'm wrong, then go eat a sandwich made of poop. Oh, you can't? Wait, I thought you had free will. I thought you could just choose whatever you wanted. No, you don't want things that smell sulfuric because your ancestors knew that that was poisonous.
You know what? That's one of the creepiest things to learn too, is like ego, right? Because when it ties down to it, like, what is ego? What is the reason we do anything? It's to get, you know, the approval of others. It's to get status, because when you get status, life is easier. When you have wealth, life is easier. People are nicer to you. They treat you better. You have access to more things. And I feel like every single thing that exists today is just a vehicle for status, right? And I want to dive into this side too, because, you know, we agree that status is everything. It's not just attracting and dating women, but, you know, in order to get the bees to come, you have to throw fucking honey. So that's why all the things we talk about is dating, status gets women, bikini models, blah, 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 blah. It's just the way it is because, you know, as men, we're on hyper overdrive that we need to fucking attract women. It's just programmed into us. So
have you heard Alex Becker talk about what they want versus what they need? You know who Alex Becker is?
Oh, yeah, I know Alex Becker, but it's true, man. Yeah, you have to you have to throw this to them, and then they get into our courses, and then they go, "Oh, it's not about attracting women. It's about being a great fucking person and you know being valuable." And anyways, but when you really break things down like this, I wouldn't say it's depressing, but it's creepy because you think, okay, well, every single function of what a man does is somehow leading to him achieving higher status. So like whether you're a doctor, whether you're a garbage man, a nightclub promoter, whatever it is you do is just a vehicle to get to your desired self, right? So there's a balance with everything, right? Like, okay, well, if you're a doctor, you make a very high salary and society thinks you are fucking awesome because you save lives, right? So I think that status when it comes to entrepreneurs is for people that are willing to kind of be a little bit more Machiavellian in order to achieve status. Because if you want to be a really nice guy, you're just a nice guy, you don't want to fuck people over, you can go to school, you can get a fucking degree, and you can become a doctor, an architect. You can become something that society respects. There's a progression of salary, and you make enough money that you can afford a house, you can support children. So it's like a very safe way to achieve status while also being a nice guy, right? But if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, and this is something that's one of those dark things. This is one of the biggest pills I swallowed as I got older. That, you know, something that we talked about too with the examples you always like to bring up, like Jordan Belfort, you know, Bernie Madoff. Even if you are the biggest piece of shit in the world, if you get things done and you get results, people are still drawn to you, right? You could fuck over everybody. You could run over an old lady with a cane, but if you have a bunch of followers, if you have a blue check mark, all your friends who had your, you know, that was your grandma that the guy ran over. They're all going to the event, man.
It's insane.
And
it's insane.
Fucked. It's fucked, right?
Bro. Okay, look. So let's think about this, right? I'm going to talk about somebody in a vacuum. We'll not say his name, right? He was selling pink slips, then was investigated by the Security and Exchange Commission, was found to be having multiple drugs in his system, be selling and buying multiple drugs, hundreds of prostitutes. And then once he's found guilty by the Security and Exchange Commission, has to go to prison for 15 months. And he comes out and then they make a fucking movie exposing his whole life. If I tell you that story in a vacuum, you're like, this guy's killed himself at this. He's obviously committed suicide at this point. No, I'm talking about Jordan Belfort. And he's wealthy beyond his wildest fucking imagination, even though he's a fucking convicted federal felon. It's just like, you're exactly right, dude. It's so crazy when you think about, dude, I'm sorry. Didn't Caitlyn Jenner literally get drunk and murder someone, run them over in her fucking car? And we still, oh my God, Woman of the Year. We love her. No, you're right, dude. The people just don't give a shit. Here's an even better example. The highest approval rating during the Clinton administration was
Bill.
After he got his dick sucked by his fucking intern.
Yep.
That was the highest approval rating during his entire administration. And you people are sitting there like, bro, I'm so worried that I'm going to post this meme on my Instagram and my family might see it. And I'm like, did you see what the president did? Like, it makes no difference.
Well, you know what? That's a whole other thing, though, because what we have seen, though, I'm just going to get to this. Like, if you don't have the status and wealth, you don't get away with that shit at all, man. Sure. You get fucking thrown to the wolves, right? So that's the problem.
Hold on. To a certain extent, because you and I are beholden to YouTube and their algorithm. But like when you're like Bilzerian or fucking Elon Musk, you're not beholden to anyone. So you're right. That's correct.
Yeah,
because we're beholden to
all these
we're beholden to woke people. That's correct.
Yeah, the tech companies that are so, and you know, you got to remember, like, we're humans. We're still on this 150 Dunbar level, right? So when we see all these hate comments online, even though it's like, oh, that guy's just a mosquito on the internet, we still have that part in our body where it's like, fuck, like we have
I want to hunt that. I want to hunt these dudes down. I want to hunt them down, bro. Hey, dude, hey, let me tell you something. All you haters, let me tell you something. Web 3.0 is going to come out, and it tokenizes every time you log on, which means you're not anonymous anymore, motherfucker. So you can go ahead and comment all you want. But somebody, maybe not me, somebody's going to find your ass. All this anonymous shit talking and the little Twitter fingers, that shit is going to go away very quickly. There's a lot of very scared individuals. Like, if you want to criticize me, do it. I don't mind. But if I tell you the earth is round and you think it's flat, so you start talking about my mom, it's fun to say that behind your keyboard, but you would never say that to my face.
Right.
And so that's going to change real quick. You're going to see that's one of the things Web 3.0 that I'm very much looking forward to is the tokenization of a lot of these anonymous a lot of this anonymous behavior.
We just prefaced all these guys that have achieved very high status and wealth by essentially doing really fucked up stuff like cheating, plagiarizing, stealing, fucking people out of money.
Wait. We missed the big one, right? What we said before. Any I've asked a million salespeople this. I asked Cole Gordon this last week. If in a hypothetical world, Bernie Madoff got out of prison and came out with a 20-part fucking sales program on video that you could buy, how many salespeople would have bought it? Everyone I've talked to said that they would buy it from this motherfucker who stole billions of dollars and is clearly a psychopath. Everyone would have bought his program.
Right. So here's my question for you. Now that we've laid that out to all the people in the audience, because look, one of the hardest pills I ever swallowed was like, society, they don't reward people that are good or nice or have these values and characteristics, right? You don't get rewarded for that shit. All these guys that do achieve such a high level of status and wealth, what happens is they tend to do a lot of really dirtbag shit. But then when they're successful, it's like, you know what? I'm a philanthropist now. You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
But the question is for you, Michael, now knowing all this and then having an influence on people, what are your thoughts on recommending to people, hey, you know what? Just be a piece of shit for 10 years and then become a good guy. Like, has that ever crossed your mind? Like,
No, because I did an experiment, right? So we call Men of Action a laboratory, and everything in the laboratory is under the scrutiny of the scientific method. And in the scientific method, we're always trying to disprove our own hypothesis. So one of the hypotheses I had was, is there a way for me to live in Las Vegas amongst these dirtbags? Like, a lot of these people are very, very fucking unscrupulous individuals.
Right.
Can I do this and still make money and date beautiful women without being a dirtbag? Is there a way? And I found a way. And that's what I teach in my program. Number one, with women, I don't have to be a dirtbag if I have enough pre-selection. This is one of the most amazing things I've learned over the last 25 years. If you have enough pre-select, I'll give you an example. This is obviously an extreme example, but if Justin Timberlake came up to a girl and was like, hey, you look really pretty. I'd like to get to know you. Can we go to dinner sometime? Basically the most beta thing he could possibly say. It will work because if there were 50 women behind him, like, oh my God, it's Justin Timberlake. If you have enough pre-selection, you can be a perfect gentleman, nice guy. I know because I've done it. I've done it where I'm dating multiple women at the same time, telling them all about each other. I've opened doors. I could take women to dinner. Bro, when I wasn't doing this, every time I'd buy a girl flowers, she'd run off scared. Now, like, girls get flowers from me and they're fucking excited as shit because they know I could be in Greece with a supermodel.
I'm more getting to, like, when it comes to business status and wealth. So I'm talking about like fraud, ripping people off, scams.
So let's get to that. That was the second thing I was going to get to.
Gotcha.
So in Men of Action, a lot of people come in and they've seen the video I do with Coffee and Cleavage where we talk about threesomes. They think that's what my program is going to be. No, my program is the U.S. military code of conduct, which basically states I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor will I tolerate anyone amongst us who does. That is one of the first things you learn in my course. We always underpromise and overdeliver. We do not brag about who we have sex with or how much money we make. There's a very strict code when you're in the Men of Action program. Rule number one is we don't listen to the words, but our words, other people's words don't mean shit. Our words mean something. If we say something, we fucking do that thing. We are accountable to our words. That's different. Here's the thing that I found. Instead of being Machiavellian or narcissistic or whatever, can I grow as outrageously fast as some of these pickup artists, scam artists? No. Some of those guys are like, they're just lying to you. Dude, there's this one guy. Some of these guys who like go to Central and South America and like pay for hookers to be in their fucking videos. I just don't like that.
Oh
shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's just mind blowing, bro. And like, I will never do that.
Just getting back to the thing. So you're telling people they shouldn't be a Jordan Belfort or a Bernie Madoff. They should find a way to not fuck over people, but achieve the same status.
Yes.
Because those guys don't get the pass.
Here's the thing.
They get the pass.
Right. So here's the thing. would I like that level of status? That'd be cool. Here's the thing. I think you and I would probably be fine with $1 million a year or $2 million a year or even $3 million a year, which is not that much compared to those guys. If I have enough money to where I can be happy and by the way, here's my definition of masculinity. My definition of masculinity is someone who is willing to die for others, willing to serve others, willing to protect others, but not necessarily willing to save others. We'll get into that later. My job is to protect my friends, not to save them.
I see what you're getting at. You know what? I don't know about you, but maybe this is just a thing about being a man as you get older. But like sometimes you feel the urge to like save people, you know, and not necessarily as in like if somebody's addicted to heroin, you pull them off the street and you go, hey man, stop. And then they steal your money and then they go to heroin again. Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, if there was a fucking building on fire, nothing would satisfy me more than running in there, pulling 2 or 3 people out. Even if it killed me, it would be worth it just because
for sure.
I don't know what that is inside me. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but
it's evolutionary psychology, bro. Yeah. Someone had to be willing to die for the tribe. So that's why it's evolutionarily ingrained in us. Because that doesn't mean because you were willing to die for the tribe doesn't mean you did die for the tribe. Once you came back as the victorious soldier, you were the first one that the women chose. That's why your species. that's why your genes get passed on the most. So funny, the brave warrior type is the one who passed on his genes. So that's the reason why. Of course, dude. That's why we look at firefighters. Nobody's like, man, that firefighter's a piece of shit. He's a firefighter. No one talks shit to firefighters. To me, that is ultimate masculinity. Is the willingness to die for others.
Yeah. So I would argue most men have that inside of them, but they don't have a vehicle where they can necessarily display that.
Of course, because we live in 2022. What vehicle do I need? I can get unlimited food delivered to me via Postmates. I can get unlimited supplies delivered to me via Amazon. I can eat as much sugar, salt, and fat as I possibly want and watch unlimited pornography. What challenges do I really fucking have other than my own depression?
People have progressively the opposite of desensitization. We have progressively as a society resensitized ourselves to having all this shit. And that's why dudes are having panic attacks going and talking to people. Yeah. So
because of this thing right here.
Yeah. You always talk about how, you know, social media is super important. You have to have one. Like, I'm sorry, you need to have one. I agree. But at the same time, I know for younger people that we can't just go on and post and then not check our fucking story and who watched it.
That's the problem. Times. It is. Yeah.
It's a major problem. So like, I guess, you know, to 20-year-old Michael Sartain that's fucking hooked on his phone, has no status, and he doesn't want to fuck over people to make money, right? He doesn't need to make, you know, $50 million a year. He just needs to, you know, do decent, have local status amongst his friend group, maybe not a fucking Playboy playmate or a model. But because here's the thing, too. A lot of guys, they have this idea that, you know, the status of the woman is how attractive she is, right? Like, if you take a girl that's a playmate or a Playboy model, like, there are women that are as attractive as that in your hometown. But there aren't as many of them, and you don't know where they are, right? They aren't at the fucking nightclub. They're not stripping. They're not modeling. They're not presenting an award or whatever. They're like diamonds in the rough, I suppose. But they can still be equally as attractive. And you could also argue that they have a slightly lower standard for who they'll go out with, right? So I think a lot of guys, they think they want the superstar models, but in reality,
you think those girls have a slightly lower standard for who they? Because I think social media has made it to where every girl thinks that she has the same standard as Kim Kardashian.
Right, I know, but there is a movement towards people that are not using social media as much because of the fucking repercussions on their mental health.
Okay, so rule number 4, like I said before, social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, there's 3 parts to it. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. The world is not fair, and I'm okay with that. And we are social media producers and not social media consumers. Like, I agree with you. The problem is, I know I'm an exception, but again, I am the 300-pound bench press, so to teach you how to do the 200-pound bench press. For me, like, because I host a bikini competition and I host Babes in Toyland, there's no reality where I cannot use social media. I have to use it. There is no possibility. You want to know what they call a bikini model who doesn't have an Instagram? Exactly nothing. They don't exist. So that's the reason why I have to use it, because I host the biggest bikini competition in the world. So now in these situations, for other guys, you may say, well, I want to get away from it. The problem with this is scalability, right? One of the reasons why you got on YouTube as a platform in the beginning is not just because it was free, but because it was infinitely scalable. Like, you had videos with millions of views. You potentially could have videos with billions of views, and it would have cost you nothing in order to do that because of the scalability. Unfortunately, no matter how cool you are, how many parks you go to, how many frisbees you throw, or how cute your dog is, there's a limited number, a significantly limited number of the type of attractive people of the opposite sex that you can meet. That number goes up when you use Tinder. It goes up when you use Tinder, Bumble, and eHarmony, and it goes up dramatically when you're on Instagram, and it goes up even more dramatically when your Instagram is perfect. And there is a way to make your Instagram perfect. We don't sit there and scroll through Instagram. Fuck that. That's for them. Remember, I said social media is
so
fake.
The best analogy I would give to this, though, would be like, it's better to have it and not need it than need it
for
and
sure.
not have it, right? Because every girl I've ever dated, I've met them in person. They had because here's the thing, and this is something that, you might know people that are like this, but once you do have a big following, people try to fucking use you all the time, right? Especially women. So do they like you because of you, or do they like you because you are around other women, because of your status, because you have views or whatever? So there's something different about meeting a woman that actually likes you for who you are, and you guys jam and your chemistry is good. And then she can find out about your status later. And
this is interesting. Jack, does that bother you? I'm just curious.
Oh, dude, it's something that I had to deal with for a long time, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I'm not as famous as you, but I can get a girl 100,000 real Instagram followers pretty quickly, and so a lot of girls do want to date me because of that. And I'm sitting there having a threesome, and at no point am I thinking, man, this fucking girl's using me for my status. I don't give a shit at all.
Yeah. So you did interviews for a while, and you kind of did similar things that I do, like man on the street. You go to nightclubs, dude. Much how like you went out 63 nights in a row for like 2.5 years, man. Every single weekend, I was filming 3 videos a day.
I saw that, yeah.
Dude, I started doing these drunk interviews all the time, and I just got so burnt out. I'm like, all this is a bunch of people standing in the fucking dark with music on, right? And I'm like, I hate being here. Now, I've since, like, I can go out, I can have fun at a club. I'm not like a fucking prat or whatever, but it got to the point, man, where, much how you working in a bar as a DJ, a bar guy, the bouncer, you saw people at their absolute worst. You saw the absolute worst people come in there. And as much as it taught you all the good things, it's like the scene in The Matrix, right? Where there's 2 pills. You have those nice comforting lies, and then you have the truth. And then after you get exposed to it enough times, it really makes you go, fuck, this is not the best spot for like genuine people. And it resets your whole thought system. You used to think, oh, things about being good and nice. And, it's that whole transitionary period. But what I'm getting at is like, I think that status is much more, it can have all these differential meanings for it. Yes, obviously, I've taken full advantage of the status that I've had in parts of life, right? But what I'm saying is it gets to a point where, the grass is greener. And what I'm getting at is like, once you've achieved something a certain amount of times, you're like, okay, what's the next thing, right? So you went through the military, and then you went through the bar thing, and you're like, okay, now I'm doing finance, but I also want to do these speeches. I need to help these guys. And, before you got to each thing, you're like, fuck, that looks good. I need to do that. The point I'm getting at is like, I got to a point where I got so burnt out with, knowing, okay, does this person like me for who I am, or is it because of the status thing, that I was just like, okay, from now on, every person I date or really fuck with, like, I'm going to meet them in person through a friend or something like that.
Yeah.
So but I could say that because I've gone through the other side where you have high status, and women just want to fuck you because you have high status, right?
Listen, now we're doing the opposite. I'm telling you that the average dude is listening to what you just said, and they're like, bro, I wish women were just trying to fuck me because I had high status, right?
Yeah,
like,
I guess what I'm getting at those, once you do it enough, you got to realize when to be like, okay, I don't like this anymore.
Okay, so here's the thing. Jack, if you came out, we have another function in MOA. It's called it's called value arbitrage. And the way it works is whenever I'm in a social situation and I don't know what to do, I'm the connector, the suggester, or the content creator. Okay. So if you if you came to Vegas, I would take you on stage at Excess, and the entire time I'd be introducing you to people. Like you'd be, your hand would be tired the whole time. Fuck, I don't take any drugs. I don't drink. I could give a fuck about most of this EDM, but the women are immaculately gorgeous. And occasionally you bump into Logan Paul, or what Logan Paul's his guest host on Impulsive. He was there like yesterday at Excess, or 2 days ago. And like you see, famous fighters, Floyd Mayweather, whoever, and I'll introduce you to them, right? And we'll just be introduced. And then I take social media, I make some social media content to post it. Why? Because I want more people to come into my coaching business. I use it for real so that more people come into my coaching business, because social media is fake, but the money's real. And I'm always the suggester. Hey guys, here's a great place we can go to after this. Here's the best after hours. Here's the best strip club. Here's the best book to read. People hit me up all the time. What's the next book I should read? What's the next book I should read? So I'm the connector, the suggester, and the content creator. When I do that and I have a purpose and a goal, that vapid nature, I feel it just like you do. That vapid nature of the nightclub or the EDM festival, it doesn't bother me. Because here's the thing, dude. I have such an internal locus of control. I know it's all fake. I don't give a fuck, bro. Here's the thing. When you said before about what's good and bad, evolutionary psychology has made me a nihilist. I only care about the truth. I'm only interested in knowing what the truth. I'm a whore to the truth, and I'm a whore to what works. That's the only thing I care about. What's good is what I decide is good. I have rescued 9 fucking cats, bro. I rescue cats. That's what I do. One of the most disgusting things in this country is that there's 70 million homeless animals in this country. That is fucking terrible. Okay. To me, that is something that me rescuing cats is good, but it's only good because I think it's good. I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks about what's good or bad. The determination of good or bad is mine. And so because of that, it doesn't really make any difference that these people are vapid. I can go out there and I can completely separate, just like a man. And it's a weird example, but like, a man might be married to a woman and then have sex with another woman, and those two things are completely separate in his mind. There's a survey where they show men who cheat. Whenever they're having sex with the other woman, they survey men who cheat and men who don't cheat. They show the exact same satisfaction in the marriage because men can compartmentalize that. For me, the vapidness and the fakeness in the social media, fucking Instagram, Playboy Mansion society, it doesn't affect me at all because they're fake. So what they get from me is also fake. Occasionally, though, I do meet genuine people that I want to bring into my... Dude, I love Bradley. That dude is the shit. You're awesome. Fucking Wes Watson's awesome. I've met some great friends. Ryan Stewman, Dan Bilzerian. I know a lot of people don't believe this, but Dan Bilzerian is one of the coolest guys you will ever fucking meet in your life. If you're in his circle. If you're not in his circle, he doesn't give a fuck. And all these different people that I've made friends with, and then all the girls, we have not even discussed this. The main reason why people join my program, the thing that makes me different, is because I believe dudes should have loads and loads and loads of fucking...
Oh, dude, hold on. So one thing just to bring back to what you were getting at, and I think this is something we heavily agree on when it comes to the nightclubs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the reason I did it was because it was my job. But I couldn't just ever go to a club and just chill, man. I'm like you.
Really?
I need to be fucking helping people.
Yeah.
I need to be filming content. I need to be talking to people. But if there's no mission, then I'm basically a consumer, right?
Always a mission. Always a mission.
Yes. So that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Connector, suggester, content creator. Always the mission. Again, social media is fake, but the money's real. And that's the way I look at it. I'm a nihilist. I am a hardcore truth nihilist. I only care about the truth.
Something we discussed before when I was on your show about, Andrew Tate and how you're going to have him on. And that's like one of the...
Bro, I'm so excited for that shit. Me and Andrew talked yesterday.
So what are your thoughts on like, because I recently I was advising people on TikTok, same thing, like stop looking at women as just things that you bang. Like you have to be friends with them too. And all of them are like, no, I got to be on my top G shit. No women. So where do you stand on it? Because I see his point of view, and then I see my point of view on it. And then, I think you're somewhere in the middle too. So what do you think about having female friends?
So Andrew Tate and Steve Harvey can't have female friends, and they're correct. They can't have female friends because in the way they see females is not conducive to them being in a friendship. And I understand that. Where Andrew Tate and I agree completely is the idea where he's like, I don't want to sit there and pay for her dinner and then talk to her about Vampire Diaries. I agree with that. I don't want to pay for her dinner and talk about Vampire Diaries either. However, I really, really do like going with 70 girls to the Playboy Mansion. That's fun. Let me give that 2 thumbs up. I enjoy that. I really like going out with 20 girls and having them introduce me to another 20 girls. Let me give you 2 thumbs up on that one. That is a fucking fun existence. Let me tell you about being paid tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars for hosting the biggest bikini competition in the world. If you think I can get 270 girls to show up to that bikini competition without having any female friends, you are fucking ignorant. I'm sorry to tell you this. The reality of the situation is if Cobra Tate thinks he can't have female friends, he's correct. He can't. But I'm telling you that there is a way to live your life. I meet women. Dude, I have a friend of mine right now who is a fucking social media genius. This woman is helping me make money. You better goddamn right believe I'm friends with her. I have another friend of mine. This woman was making 56% returns as a hedge fund manager. You better goddamn believe I am friends with her. But that's the problem. In their scenario, women are not capable of doing those things, right? So, of course, why would they ever be friends with them? 3 reasons why you have female friends. Number 1, it calibrates you. A lot of you guys are super uncalibrated and you don't even realize it. Number 2, it gives you access to everything. Like, I love Rollo Tomasi. His books are great. But let me ask you something. Who is getting invited to the Maxim party? Me or Rollo Tomasi?
Yeah, you know what?
Who's
That's
getting
a
invited?
good segue into the whole pickup thing because, you know, the industry I came from is just like social skills, talking to people, confidence, pranks, interviews, whatever. And then
Yeah.
indirectly through doing that so many times, I realized a lot of people need help with this. A lot of people aren't good at this.
Yes.
And that was kind of like my transition into the space. And then I come into the space and it's just this huge fucking swamp, man. It's all this manipulative. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's just a bunch of dudes reciprocating shit from, you know, I mean, The Rational Male, it's a great book, obviously, but like, at the same time, it's like what we were talking about with, you know, Tate. You know, if you're not Tate, then you can't do that. You can't say those things if you're not Tate.
So
if
exactly
you're not
what I
Michael
said before.
Sartain, then you can't do that, right?
So here's what I said before. Remember what I said? If you're a billionaire or if you have an NBA championship or you're a famous actor, you don't need social media. Cobra is like in a situation where he has enough status without having female friends that it doesn't even consider to be an issue to him. That's a strategy to not be friends with females. To say, well, I'm not going to give women my attention unless they want to date me. That's fine. That's the strategy you choose. I personally believe that if you are of moderate attractiveness and of moderate income and of moderate status, that having a ton of female friends, remember the three things I said. First one was they calibrate you too. They give you an unbelievable amounts of access. You will never in your entire life meet more beautiful women who will be nicer to you than on the marquee sky deck at EDC or on stage at XS or in the Playboy Mansion or in VIP at the Maxa party. And you will never get to those places unless you have a ton of female friends. And number three, the big one is pre-selection. So again, he's not wrong. He is choosing one strategy. He's choosing to run the ball and I'm choosing to throw the ball. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
So you can score a touchdown either way.
So segueing into the pickup industry though, like what are your biggest fucking, not beefs, but the things that the pickup industry get wrong? I think a lot of things in the pickup industry are wrong, and I'm sure you agree with them. But what are your top ones? What's wrong with the pickup industry?
Again, and I'm not going at this in a confrontational manner because you can't be confrontational to things that are empirical. Like we can't have an argument on whether or not the sky is blue. You can see it's blue, and you can't say you can't be friends with females because I exist. Those guys who keep saying you can't be friends with females, they fucking hate me because I exist, and therefore what you're saying is obviously not true. So the main three main things. Number one, they completely missed it on social media. They completely dude, I used to grab Owen Cook, Tyler Durden's arm, and literally twist his arm. And I was like, motherfucker, get on Facebook. Please, bro. Get on Instagram. Please. He would not, no matter what, bro. He did these videos where he was making fun of Snapchat. And then later he got on Snapchat. Dude, they were so far behind. And by the way, here's another thing, and I hope Mystery doesn't get mad at me for saying this. When I told Mystery and Matador that Owen Cook was on fucking YouTube, they were laughing at him because he was on YouTube. Dude, no, this guy had found a trend. Guys, listen to me. You should be on social media. Do you think I'm a 45-year-old man? Do you think I want to put that fucking dog filter on my fucking face? No, I don't. But I'm a whore to what works. Always remember that. So now that's the first thing. The second thing is logistics. They fucking destroy. Again, pickup is how do you live in your mom's basement and manipulate women into having sex with you? Men of action is how do you get the fuck out of your mom's basement? Okay, these are the differences. Logistics. You should be living in the middle of the shit. If you want to get really good at playing NBA basketball, should you live in Hawaii or should you live near Rucker Park in fucking Upper Manhattan? You should live where the best competition is. Okay. If you want to become a great boxer, should you live in Zimbabwe or should you be here maybe in Las Vegas where the best boxers, the best sparring partners are always coming through town? And if you want to get better with women, should you live in the fucking suburb that's an hour and a half away? Because I got all these acres, Michael. Look at all this land I got for all my cows and my horses. No, motherfucker, you should be living as close to the middle of the shit as you can, even if you have to get a couple of roommates. Logistics, bro. You know what I see when I look to my left? The Aria, the fucking hotel Aria. It's right there. I can hit it with a football. That's how close I live to the Las Vegas Strip. That was the second thing. And then the third thing, the biggest one, the ultimate pickup got this wrong. Sorry. Triple whammy. You fucked up. Strikeout. Technical 2. Ejected. You can't be friends with females. 100% you can and should be friends with females. You should have as many fucking female friends as you can. You're just wrong. And anyone who wants to argue with me, again, you're basically arguing the existence of the moon. I exist. Therefore, what I'm saying has to be true.
Well, Michael, most of the people, here's the thing, man. All the people that are saying this, they don't have any infield footage of them actually talking to women, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so they're reciting points like, let's jump back to more so like, guys in their 20s and 30s kind of pulling back from the whole fucking toxic pickup, red pill, women this, doing that. Do you think that guys should kind of spend their 20s developing a business, a skill set, whatever you want to call it, and then worry about dating in their 30s?
Yes.
And then my follow-up question to that you can get to with your answer is the women that you are around, what is the age range of men that they find the most attractive? When do they think men peak?
Yeah, Rolo got this one completely right about around 38 is when they peak. For me, because I don't even, apparently my friends tell me I don't look 45. I'm 6'1", 230, and I have like no body fat. So I don't look like I'm 45. I still kind of fit in that range. And if you ask women from 10 years ago, they think I'm more attractive now than I look when I was 35. So I would say that is definitely the case. Rolo is correct about that, because here's the reason why. When your metabolism slows down, if you take care of yourself, you can actually put on muscle mass easier when you're in your late 40s. You can. Now, the problem is, of course, the low testosterone. We can talk about that. That's another thing I recommend every single guy, especially over the age of 35. Every single one of you needs to get your testosterone and estrogen levels checked, not by a urologist, but by somebody from a rejuvenation clinic. Urologists are horribly negligent when it comes to this. Yeah. That's the first thing. Or endocrinologists.
Okay, so just for reference, though, you're 230 now. How much did you weigh 25, 30, 35?
At 25, I weighed 188. At 35, I probably weighed 201. Okay. And now I weigh 230. Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Did you ever go on TRT? Because I have a buddy.
Yeah, I'm on TRT now. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, I'm on TRT now.
You're on TRT. Okay. So what?
Remember, I'm 45 years old. Yes, I'm on TRT.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. My buddy went on TRT at 35, and he gained fucking 30. Like, I mean, he works out 2 hours a day every morning, but he gained like 33 pounds in like 60 days. It was.
But was it fat or muscle?
No, like muscle. Like
all muscle, yeah. Okay, so here's the reason why, right? So here's what happens. For those of you who are watching this when you get older, what happens is I eat a lot, arms get big, gut gets big. Yep. Or I eat less and create a deficit, arms get small, but gut gets small. When you take testosterone, TRT, and you're not taking steroids, please don't be ignorant about this. You're not taking steroids because you're on TRT. When you take TRT and you get your levels back up to the way they were when you were 19 years old, what happens is gut gets smaller, arms get bigger. That's what happens. That's the main difference. You're way more focused. You're way more assertive, not aggressive, assertive. And then that's the other thing. The other thing that is a real big problem is people shitting on aromatase inhibitors, AI, estrogen blockers. If your estrogen levels are like above 100, you need to take an estrogen blocker. Some people who don't take estrogen block, like I'll give you an example. I don't know for a fact that he's on TRT. I do personally believe Will Smith is on TRT. A great example of a guy who's on TRT who doesn't take estrogen blocker is somebody who would go up on stage and slap a guy and be like, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth." That sounds like a guy who's not on an estrogen blocker to me. He looked exactly like guys with high estrogen looked to me when I saw that. The roid rage, the guys getting super jealous and going over their girls' phones, the roided up guys, those guys have super high estrogen levels and they're not taking an estrogen blocker. And that's the reason why they behave that way. And I will debate anybody on that. These people who are like, under no circumstances do they take estrogen blocker. You're just foolish. You're just being dumb. You're just being stupid. And there's no science behind what you're saying. The thing is, like with the testosterone, it's not a magic pill, but you know what scurvy is? Scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency. Yeah. If you have a vitamin C deficiency, scurvy, then you know what a miracle cure is? Vitamin C. And if you have low testosterone due to hypogonadism, then a miracle cure is testosterone cypionate. That's all it is.
As far as guys that are watching this that are young, not related to dating, because same shit I always tell people, like, don't worry about dating until you have your life set up so that it's good. And then, because here's the thing, man, you can't be a guy that's good at talking to girls and then become an engineer. But you can become an engineer and then become good at talking to girls,
That's
right?
That's the truth, bro.
Yeah. So you kind of have to like lure people in with the bait and then you drop these pills on them. But obviously you had a different path. What would you recommend to somebody that's in their fucking 20s? They're on YouTube all day. They're 18 to 22. They're horny, but what works then is different than what works long-term. Eventually it's going to become about status and wealth and whatnot. But let's forget about the women for a second. 20 years old, Michael Sartain, now knowing everything that you do, and I don't just mean women. Let's just remove women from the picture.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do at 20 years old?
It used to be, everybody was teaching like social media manager. Remember Ty Lopez had that course? And then for a while it was like Facebook. Oh, no, it was Facebook ads. And then for a while, what we were doing, YouTube ads. And then a while, everybody was getting into, what was it? Amazon storefronts. You know, the Amazon storefront thing? That's like the new craze or whatever. I'm going to tell you 3 things right now that you can get into. 2 of them will never go away. Okay. The first one, go back and watch my episode with Nick Cosman. Learn how to copyright. Learn how to write a dynamic sales letter that can be changed into a video sales letter. It costs you this much money to learn how to do it. And this is the number of advanced degrees you need, 0 for those of you who are listening, in order to learn how to do this. And you can do this from your mom's basement. You can learn to become an incredible copywriter from that place. None of you have an excuse to not learn this skill. You can do it from home. You can do it while you travel. Copywriters make unbelievable amounts of money, the best of them. That would be the first thing I would tell you. The second thing, on the phone sales, learning how to sell. Go back and listen to my episode with Cole Gordon, fantastic seller. He's running a $30 million business. Learning how to be a fucking assassin on the phone, a closer. Again, costs you this much money to learn how to do it. Some places obviously will train you. This is the number of advanced degrees that you need to learn how to become a good salesman. This is something that will last for the rest of your life. This is something my father told me 30 years ago. If you get a job in sales, you're never going to have to look for a job for the rest of your life. And third, this one is a bit more contextual. If you can help other people produce reels. I know a guy.
So video editing.
So basically video editing in the reel. So it's reels / YouTube Shorts / TikTok up and down format, make it with the captions going across it. Reels and TikToks have taken over as far as growth. There used to be no organic growth on Instagram. Right now, reels. And then you repurpose that content for Facebook video. You repurpose it for a YouTube Shorts, and you repurpose it for TikTok. That would be the absolute number one way. Dude, could you imagine if somebody did this for you and was just cranking out 4 a day? Your numbers grow so fast when you do this. You see people with reels with like 500,000 views.
Bro, I've been doing this for years, man. I know.
You've seen, you know what I'm talking about.
I used to edit these myself, man. I know exactly.
Dude, I did too.
Good. And that's another thing. That's a good way to like kind of wrap this up is that as a North American, our standard of what we are not necessarily entitled to, but like what brings us pleasure now is higher than it has ever been before, man. We have like maxed out our pleasure seeking desires as humans. Like we've never been so stimulated, right? And then you have somebody that's growing up in a world where like they have to line up to get bread. Like one of my best friends back home, he grew up in a camp where they were like a rescue camp. So they had to wait every day in line to get food. He comes over here and he's just the happiest guy ever. Car breaks down, whatever. I don't give a fuck, you know? So that kind of mindset, it's really hard to rewire people into that because, you know, kind of like what you said, you have to dive into the shit. You have to get into the mud. But the point I'm getting is like now all these people are becoming equally as skilled, but way less fucking spoiled. And that's a huge threat, right? Like all the jobs and the work and the economics are going to people that can do the same thing, but they're happier. They'll work longer hours. They require less pay. And, you know, you could say, well, we had it too good for too long, but unless we get kind of harder and tougher, then, you know, it's going to go to people that are willing to do more than we are.
Have you seen what happened? So when that book, The 4-Hour Workweek, came out, this is when people started, like the rush for VAs happened was because of that book. Yeah. When that happened, the majority of those VAs were from India. Like some of these VAs had PhDs. There were so many of them. They priced themselves up so high that Indonesia sweeps in. Now Indonesia is where a lot of these workers are. And what's going to happen there is the standard of living is going to increase. And now it's going to go to Bali or I don't know, Bali, some other country. The Philippines. Exactly. It'll go to the Philippines. Exactly right. So it'll go to the Philippines. The Philippines will price themselves out. And now all our VAs are going to come from Vietnam. It's going to work like that. That's essentially how it works. You raise the standard of living of one place and then it'll change. That is interesting. For certain things, I absolutely agree that you can use a VA for it. And I would recommend you do it. And that part is terrific. I will tell you something else. Your question about pleasure, is there an upper limit? And the answer is read Dan's book. His book is absolutely incredible. I'm his friend, and I thought this book was going to be terrible. I'm not going to lie to you. I really thought this book was going to be a fucking jerk-off session, self-masturbatory, fucking I'm so great. He talks about shoving steroids up his asshole to smuggle them across the border. He talks about people filming him while he was masturbating. He humiliates himself horrendously in this book. And he talks about once he gets to the end, being on a boat worth $60 million with 30 women all trying to have sex with him, and he was going through depression. I highly recommend.
So he maxed it out. He maxed it.
This is my point. He maxed it out. So I'm not going to get to that point, but I always wanted to know. So the way happiness works, if you guys ever read The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, there's a middle ground here. So below, like as you increase wealth up to 70,000 a year, you get progressively more happy. And then once you get above a certain point, and then you start acquiring these materialistic things, you become less happy over time. And he talks about that. He's like, when I'm with Dan, one of the problems is, and he knows this, he's fully aware of this. I will be with the 10 most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life, and none of them even like spark any interest in him. He's like, hey man, can you bring some girls over? I'm like, Dan, no matter who I bring over, you're not gonna be happy. It doesn't make any difference. Like, what are the hottest girls I've ever seen in my life? He's like, yeah, I don't want her to come over. She's fat, bro. I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, she's fat? She's fat? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? So he's at the point now, he said once he gets to $1 billion, he's going to go shave his beard and go work as fucking a stalker, like a nighttime stalker at a fucking grocery store.
Just I was going to say, what's his end game then? Is he going to become a philanthropist or some shit?
He's a philanthropist now. He doesn't talk about it. I'll talk about it. Like he takes groups of amputees, U.S. military amputees. He takes them out on vacation. He pays for a bunch of stuff. He's paid for fucking truckloads of toys to go to kids, but he never publicizes any of it because he doesn't need to. But I know about the stuff. He never talks about the stuff he does for troops. He does so much stuff for fucking disabled veterans. It's crazy, but he never talks about it.
Random segue here, but it's just something that I just realized. Like, I think that the internet really brings the worst out of people. Like all the insecurities just get poured right into the internet because
for sure,
you know, I see people shitting on guys like Jeff Bezos all the time. Like, oh, he only donated $100 million this year. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson, right? Like,
of obviously, course, very extremely.
Yeah, like a fucking.
He had Dr. Buss on, that. Bro. He had Dr. Buss on. Of course, I know him.
People just shit on people, but like, who's the shit coming from? It's always coming from people on the internet, but because of, like I said, the thing we were talking about earlier with like the Dunbar effect and how we've evolved to like. For whatever reason, that just riles people up. And like guys like Peterson, they send him into deep bouts of fucking depression where his words can't even get out there to people because, I'll give you an example, man. So I am from Hamilton, Ontario. There's a university nearby me, McMaster. And years ago, he went to speak there. And like at FIFA World Cup, they had like those fucking flutes, the kazoos, where they just blew them and then they banned them that year because they were so loud. He was trying to speak, man. People are banging drums, pots and pans. Yes. They literally silenced him just for saying simple things like, there's men and women and they're different. And I think that, the internet is just all of everybody's insecurities are just coming out online. And it's.
Well, I think we're seeing the loudest 1%. By the way, this isn't the only woman in my life right here. This is Sheba. She's one of my rescues. So no, it's that 1%. If you look at the majority of your interactions, dude, they're mainly positive. Yeah. They really are. It's just you and I, bro, I want to fight these motherfuckers. Like I was like, bro, you would never say that to my face. Some of these things these dudes say to me, I would like, and I understand why you think it's the worst. I do think it's also worse on TikTok than it is on Instagram. On Instagram, I get a lot of like inspirational, like encouraging comments. On TikTok, dude, I promise you right now, I guarantee you, Jack, if you and I made a TikTok together where we started disparaging women in any way whatsoever, we would get nothing but positive comments. Nothing. We would get one negative comment and 99.
Really, bro? You think so?
Yeah, fuck those girls.
Bro,
on
really, TikTok? On TikTok?
Go through my TikTok and look at the ones where the girls are like, you sell the bag, bitch. Or like any of those ones like there. Read the comments. The comments are like, yeah, tell those hoes. It's crazy, bro. Like the comments. Now,
you know what?
Now TikTok is woke. I don't think the people on TikTok are woke at all.
Bro.
I think that they love the shit out of the
TikTok is different, man. It's low IQ, low attention span.
Agreed.
People that TikTok's different, bro. I mean, we've gone on a bender here. There's a lot of shit to cover, but we'll have to do another one of these, man. We'll have to do these like every couple months or so.
I'm totally fine with that.
What's your final message to everybody watching? How can they learn about you? And
also, we do have bisexual and homosexual men that are in the program. You want to know why? Because men are men are men. One of the things we talk about in the program is like when men. Here's a funny thing, Jack. You'll think this is interesting. When women cheat, men ask, "Did you fuck him?" When men cheat, women ask, do you love her? This comes from Dr. David Buss. When gay men cheat, guess what gay men ask? Did you fuck him? Because men are men are men. That's the reason why people find that offensive, but that is the truth. So we don't care. Status is status is status. And when I say status, I mean strictly in a scientific standpoint. If you're interested in that, then come check out MOA mentoring. If you're not sure, then I ask you a promise. because we're called the Men of Action program. I ask you to just take some action. I want you to take your full skepticism, and I want you to do two things with it. Number one, just go through my Instagram. Just pick it apart. That's the first thing I want you to do. And the second thing I want you to do is promise me you will go through at least 20 of the testimonials. Take your skepticism fully into that. And then afterwards, then what I'd like to ask for you, if you still have a problem with it, comment. Tell me what the issue you have is. Because the reality of the situation is, I am so sick of people scamming each other that I try to make a program where I underpromise and overdeliver. I try to give as much value as possible. And I have a culture of men who we will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor will we tolerate anyone who does. As iron sharpens iron, so shall man sharpen other man. We take care of each other and we help build each other up. That is the program I have. There's no Machiavellianism. We actually sit there. I have a module basically on sociopaths and narcissists, how to look out for them. We talk about that in the program too. And here's the thing, man. If you want the results of the things that you see from myself or my clients, just check it out. Just go to MOA Mentoring and check it out. And also, guys, I would highly recommend, if you guys are interested in any kind of subject, whether it comes to anything from OnlyFans to quantum mechanics. Yes, I did 3 hours on quantum mechanics. Please check out my podcast, the Michael Sartain podcast. I have guests from Vegas Dave, Jay Cutler. I had Ty Lopez on. I had Dan Bilzerian on. I had Jack Denmo on. You guys
buddy, I forgot to mention too, the Nick Cosman one. That one was fire when you were talking about it earlier. It? Yeah, I watched that one, right? Because I've been working on my copywriting a lot. And he's a Toronto guy too. But yeah, dude, honestly, I think where most people go wrong is, and this is something I wish I knew in my earlier 20s too. Like, your body doesn't really think long term. Your body's just thinking short term, immediate, right? But all the things that are interesting to me now, I did not give a fuck about when I was like 20, and I wish I did, right? Yeah. And it's funny, I still did enough to get me where I am, but even I feel like I don't know anything, and I think that's something that is good for all levels of people. Like, you probably think you don't know anything either, because that makes you open to learn. Like, whenever you have a guest on,
always open to learn.
You consume like 40 hours of their content. So I think the biggest thing people need to take away from this is like completely drop their ego and realize that nobody knows anything. I think the mastery level is like when you are in your 50s and 60s, I guess, the crystallized knowledge, if you will.
No, the journey is the mastery level. The journey is the mastery. Like, so here's the thing. When I talk to some gurus, the learning has stopped. And they like, not only do I continue to learn, you literally watch me do it on my podcast. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I went over 40 hours of Jack Denmo content before. Dude, next week is Kino Body, Gregor Gallagher. Yeah. I went over like dozens of hours of his content just so that I could ask him 50 questions that were intelligent, because I want to keep learning. My podcast is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was asked commissioned by Dale Carnegie, hey, write this book. I'm going to give you access to all these people. You get to keep the knowledge and you don't get any money from it. And that's when he wrote Think and Grow Rich. That's what the Michael Sartain podcast is. I try to get people that have expertise in something, and I try to genuinely ask them questions with intellectual curiosity. A lot of coaches would never do that, because that means that they don't have all the answers, right? And if you want to understand how different mindsets work as far as abundance mindset or a winning mentality, then please at least give this course a try. Check it out. We have free calls we do every other Monday, and I have so much content on that page that you guys can check out for free, and then just make a decision on your own. For a lot of you guys, it's not going to be for you, because I will make you work your fucking ass off, so you might not want to join.
I think one of the big underlying themes, man, is like the military mindset is very powerful, man. Like the discipline and, because I was thinking about that a lot of the time. Like I'll be giving somebody advice or something, and I'll go to like some extreme analogy, man. Like, well, what if, you had to save your friend's life because there was bullets being fired off? Then would you go talk to somebody, And I think that when you like really dumb things down to the extreme, it does hurt feelings. I mean, it's tough, man. I see both sides to it, but like at the end of the day, like everything is everybody's fault. That's how we're going to wrap it. Everything is your fault. Everything is your fault.
Extreme ownership, bro. That's
extreme why it's called ownership, bro.
It's why it's called extreme ownership. That is the first in module. In Pillar 3, Module 1, Extreme Ownership. That's the title of the module.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I'm going to kill this recording now. Thanks for coming on, brother.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, brother. Let me know when you come out to Vegas. I need a judge for my bikini competition.
All right.